They say the day you get married is supposed to be the happiest moment of your life, like a bright, sunny day full of love and laughter. But nobody warns you that it can also turn into the worst day ever, where everything you thought was true crumbles like a sandcastle hit by a wave, leaving you standing in a fancy dress, feeling like your heart's been shattered. My name is Lily Thompson, and this is the story of how I found out the two people I loved and trusted most in the whole world were keeping a huge, hurtful secret from me for months. More than that, it's about what I did next, a bold, surprising move that left everyone in shock, their jaws dropping, their hearts racing. Some might call it revenge, but to me it was justice, pure and simple. I'm Lily, and just 3 months ago, I thought my life was perfect, like a puzzle with every piece in place. I was 26, teaching first graders in our little town of Willow Creek, a place where everyone knows your name. Every morning I'd wake up in the cozy apartment I shared with my fiancé, Ethan Carter, feeling a warm, happy glow in my chest, like sipping hot cocoa on a chilly day. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 1, and our wedding was set for June 15th. A perfect summer day for what I thought would be a perfect celebration. Ethan worked at his dad's construction company, building houses with his strong hands. He was tall with broad shoulders, sandy brown hair that caught the sunlight, and green eyes that sparkled when he smiled, like he was sharing a secret joke. Everyone said we were the dream couple, like something out of a movie. "You're so lucky, Lily," the moms at school would say when they picked up their kids, eyeing the modest but beautiful diamond ring Ethan saved 8 months to buy. "He's such a catch, and that ring, wow." I believed them. I believed in us, in our love, in our future. My best friend and maid of honor was Sophia Bennett, my partner in crime since we were 7, playing in the dirt and dreaming of adventures. She had long dark hair that always looked perfect, even when she swore she just rolled out of bed. Her laugh could light up a room, and guys always turned to look when she walked by, like she was magnetic. But she was my rock, the friend who held my hair when I was sick, stayed up late helping me study for my teaching exams, and cried harder than I did when my grandma passed away 2 years ago. When Ethan proposed, she was the first person I called, squealing into the phone. "Oh my gosh, Lily!" she screamed, her voice bursting with joy. "This is huge. Your wedding's going to be the most beautiful ever." She dove into planning like it was her own big day, helping me pick the venue. A charming old place called Riverbend Hall, with sprawling green gardens and a fairy tale vibe. We spent hours tasting cakes, picking out flowers and writing invitations in her neat, curly handwriting because mine looked like a kid's scribbles. "You deserve every bit of this happiness," she said one night, squeezing my hand as we sat surrounded by wedding magazines and fabric swatches. "You're the kindest person I know, Lily. Ethan's so lucky to have you." I trusted her with my whole heart. I trusted them both completely. The weeks before the wedding flew by in a whirlwind of dress fittings, last-minute checklists, and growing excitement, like waiting for Christmas morning. My family, Mom, Dad, and my younger brother Alex, were over the moon, their faces glowing with pride. Mom teared up every time she saw my dress hanging in the closet, its lace shimmering like a promise. Dad practiced his father of the bride speech in front of the bathroom mirror, thinking no one noticed. Even my grandma's sister, Great Aunt Clara, flew in from Florida. At 82, she was sharp as a tack, with eyes that seemed to see right through you, like she knew your secrets before you did. She'd been married to my great-uncle for 60 years before he passed, and her wisdom felt like a warm blanket. "Marriage isn't about the big day, sweetheart," she told me the night before, her wrinkled hands holding mine gently. "It's about every single day after that. It's about choosing each other when life gets messy, when the sparkles fade, and the real stuff starts. Make sure you're marrying someone who'll choose you back, no matter what." I nodded, my heart full, thinking I understood. Ethan and I had faced tough times before. His dad's scary heart attack, my struggle to land a teaching job, the stress of saving for a house. We were solid like a tree with deep roots. We were ready for forever. I fell asleep that night with a smile, dreaming of walking down the aisle toward the man I loved, my future bright and clear. June 15th dawned bright and sunny, with a soft breeze that kept the summer heat gentle, like a kind hug from the weather. I woke up in my old bedroom at my parents' house, following the tradition of not seeing the groom before the wedding. Sunlight poured through the lace curtains Mom hung when I was 12, and for a moment, I felt like a little girl again, safe in a world full of dreams. Then it hit me. Today was my wedding day. The house was already buzzing like a beehive. Mom was in the kitchen, probably cooking enough pancakes to feed the whole town, her way of handling nerves. Dad was on the phone, his voice sharp as he sorted out some problem. Alex was in the shower singing off-key, making me laugh despite my jitters. I stretched, feeling surprisingly calm, like a quiet lake before a big event. All the planning was done, the decisions made. Today I just had to show up and marry the love of my life. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from Ethan. Good morning, my beautiful bride. Can't wait to see you at the altar. I love you forever. My heart fluttered as I typed back. Love you too. See you soon, my almost husband. Another buzz, Sophia. It's wedding day, Lily. I'm so excited I barely slept. Getting my hair done now, then I'll be over to help you get ready. It's gonna be perfect. The morning zoomed by with hair curlers, makeup brushes, and nervous giggles that filled the room like bubbles. The photographer arrived at 10, snapping pictures as my bridesmaids, Sophia, my cousin Mia, and Ethan's sister Zoe, helped me transform into a bride. My dress was everything I dreamed of, simple but elegant, with delicate lace sleeves and a flowing skirt that made me feel like a princess in a storybook. When I looked in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself, my eyes shining with hope. Oh, honey, Mom whispered, tears sparkling in her eyes. You're absolutely glowing like a star. Great Aunt Clara sat in the corner, watching with her wise, piercing eyes. When our gazes met in the mirror, she smiled, but there was a flicker of something, worry maybe? That made my stomach twist for a second. It disappeared so fast I thought I imagined it. By noon, we were piling into cars to head to Riverbend Hall. The ceremony was set for 2 p.m., with photos starting at 1. Everything was on track, like a train chugging smoothly along. The venue looked magical, like it had been lifted from a fairy tale. White roses and baby's breath decorated every corner, their sweet scent filling the air. Rows of chairs faced the gazebo where Ethan and I would say our vows, each one perfectly aligned. The reception tent in the garden sparkled with white tablecloths and centerpieces Sophia and I had spent 3 hours arranging the night before, laughing over silly flower names. It's perfect, I whispered, my heart swelling as I took it all in. You're perfect, Sophia said, squeezing my arm with a big smile. Ethan's gonna lose it when he sees you in that dress. We had an hour before the ceremony, so I settled into the bridal suite, a cozy room with soft light, to touch up my makeup and calm my fluttering nerves. The photographer was off capturing the groomsmen in another building, and I wondered what Ethan was doing. Was he nervous too? Was he as excited as I was, feeling like this moment was the start of our forever? At 1:30, Sophia said she needed to check on the flowers and the musicians. I'll be right back, she promised, winking. Don't mess up that lipstick while I'm gone. I laughed, but a tiny spark of unease flickered in my chest. At 1:45 my phone rang. It was Sarah, the wedding coordinator, her voice calm but tight. Lily, we've got a little issue, she said. Ethan's running a few minutes late. Nothing to worry about, just wanted you to know. My stomach did a small flip. Late? Ethan was never late. He was the guy who showed up 10 minutes early to everything. Is something wrong? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm sure it's fine, Sarah said quickly. Maybe traffic or last-minute jitters. Guys sometimes need a moment. We'll push the start back 15 minutes. I hung up, trying to shake off the worry. Weddings never start exactly on time, right? It's normal. But at 2 p.m. Sarah called again. Lily, we need to delay a bit more. We can't reach Ethan, and he's still not here. The unease turned into a heavy knot in my gut. What do you mean you can't reach him? I asked, my voice sharper. Where's his best man? His dad. They're here trying to find him. There's got to be a good reason. I called Ethan myself straight to voicemail. I texted, no reply. My hands started to shake. Where's Sophia? I asked Mia, who was hovering nearby, her face worried. She went to check on stuff 20 minutes ago, Mia said, her voice small. I haven't seen her since. Her face paled, and the knot in my stomach tightened like a vice. I tried Sophia's phone voicemail. By 2:15 the guests outside were getting restless, their confused whispers drifting into the bridal suite like a low hum. My parents appeared in the doorway, Mom's eyes red, Dad's jaw tight with barely controlled anger. Sweetheart, Dad said carefully, We're going to figure this out. There's an explanation. But my mind was racing, connecting dots I didn't want to see. Ethan and Sophia both missing, both not answering. On my wedding day. The hotel, I said suddenly, my voice cutting through the room. Ethan had stayed at the Willow Inn last night, following the tradition of not seeing the bride. He got a room there. Mom grabbed my arm, her grip tight. Lily, maybe we should wait. No, I snapped, sharper than I meant. I need to know where my fiancé is. I need to know why he's not here. The Willow Inn was a quick 5-minute drive. I gathered my dress, the lace rustling as I marched to the car, my family trailing behind like nervous shadows. Great Aunt Clara appeared at my side, moving fast for her age. I'm coming with you, she said firmly, her voice leaving no room for argument. Aunt Clara, you don't have to. Child, I've lived long enough to know when something's off. You don't face this alone. The drive felt like it stretched on forever, though it was only minutes. My hands trembled as I smoothed my dress, my mind spinning with possibilities. Maybe Ethan was sick. Maybe there was an emergency. Maybe his phone died and he lost track of time. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to look, I knew something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I remembered little things now. Ethan coming home late, saying work was busy, but avoiding my eyes. Sophia being extra sweet. Almost too sweet, like she was covering something up. I pushed the thoughts away as we pulled up to the inn. The Willow Inn was a charming old bed and breakfast. A century-old gem in Willow Creek with ivy climbing its walls. Ethan had booked the honeymoon suite, joking that he wanted to practice luxury before our Bahamas honeymoon. It had seemed so romantic then. Now, standing in the lobby in my wedding dress, the elderly desk clerk's eyes filled with pity, like she could sense my heartbreak. Room 237, she said softly, handing me a spare key. Elevators around the corner. My family crowded around me as we rode up to the second floor. Alex kept checking his phone, hoping for a miracle message. Mom was crying quietly, her hands twisting a tissue. Dad's face was hard, like he was ready to break something. Great Aunt Clara stood beside me, her small hand on my arm, steady and warm. The hallway was long, with deep red carpet and soft golden lights on the walls. Room 237, the honeymoon suite, was at the end, its heavy wooden door gleaming with a brass nameplate. I stood there, key in hand, listening. The hotel was quiet, but I heard soft sounds from inside, movement like rustling sheets. My heart pounded so loud I thought everyone could hear it. Maybe knock first? Mom whispered, her voice shaky. But I was already sliding the key into the lock, turning the handle, pushing the door open. The room was dim, heavy curtains blocking the afternoon sun. My eyes took a moment to adjust, and then I saw it. The bed was a mess, sheets tangled, clothes scattered on the floor. Ethan's wedding suit, crumpled like trash, and a purple bridesmaid dress, Sophia's dress. And there in the bed were Ethan and Sophia, asleep or passed out, naked, wrapped around each other like they belonged there. Sophia's dark hair spilled across Ethan's chest, his arm around her waist, holding her close even in sleep. The sight hit me like a punch to the stomach, stealing all my breath. The room spun, my knees weak. I thought I might collapse right there in my white dress. Behind me, Mom gasped a sharp broken sound. Dad muttered a curse under his breath. Alex made a noise like he'd been hit. But I couldn't move. I stood frozen, taking in every awful detail. An empty champagne bottle on the nightstand, Sophia's earrings and necklace scattered on the dresser. The way they looked so comfortable together, like this wasn't new. How long had this been going on? The question screamed in my mind over and over. How long had they been lying to me, betraying me, making me look like a fool? Lily, Great Aunt Clara said softly, her voice steady. Come here, child. But I couldn't. I was stuck staring at the ruins of my life. This morning I'd been a happy bride full of dreams. Now I was nothing, my heart breaking into pieces. A sound slipped out of me, half sob, half bitter laugh. The irony was almost funny in a cruel, twisted way. Ethan stirred, the light from the open door waking him. His eyes fluttered open, blurry and confused. It took him a second to realize where he was, to see me standing there in my wedding dress. His face went pale like he'd seen a ghost. Lily, he breathed, scrambling to sit up, jostling Sophia awake. I can explain. Explain. My voice was a whisper, but it cut through the room like a knife. Explain what, Ethan? Explain why you're in bed with my best friend on our wedding day? Explain why 100 people are waiting at the venue for a groom who's too busy with my maid of honor to show up. Sophia was awake now, her eyes wide with panic as she clutched the sheet to cover herself. Lily, please, she started, her voice trembling. It's not what it looks like. Not what it looks like? I laughed, the sound sharp and broken. It looks like my fiancé and my best friend betrayed me. It looks like the two people I trusted most have been lying to my face. So please, Sophia, tell me what it really is. They had no answer. Their silence was louder than any words. I turned slowly, looking at my family. Mom was crying openly now, her hands over her mouth. Dad looked like he wanted to punch something, his fists clenched. Alex stared at Ethan with pure disgust, his jaw tight. Great Aunt Clara watched me with those sharp eyes, waiting like she knew I was about to make a choice. Call them, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. What? Mom asked, her voice breaking. Call them. Call Ethan's parents, his sister, his best man, everyone waiting at the venue. My voice grew stronger, clearer. Tell them to come here. Tell them they need to see something. Ethan scrambled to his feet, pulling on clothes, panic all over his face. Lily, please, let's talk about this privately, he begged. Privately. I turned to him, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest like armor. You want to talk privately after you humiliated me in front of our whole town? After you let me wait in a bridal suite for a groom who was never coming? I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Mrs. Carter, it's Lily. I need you and Mr. Carter to come to room 237 at the Willow Inn right now. Yes, I know the wedding's supposed to start. Just come and bring Zoe and Jake. Ethan's mom picked up on the second ring. Lily dear, where's Ethan? Everyone's asking. Room 237, Willow Inn. Come now, bring everyone. I made more calls, Ethan's dad, his best man Jake, Sarah the coordinator, my aunts and uncles still at the venue. What are you doing? Sophia whispered, clutching the sheet, her face pale. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd been like a sister, who'd shared my secrets, my dreams, who'd helped plan the wedding she was now destroying. I'm making sure everyone sees who you really are, I said, my voice steady as steel. Both of you. The next 20 minutes felt like a lifetime, each second stretching out painfully. Ethan and Sophia scrambled to dress, whispering frantically to each other, trying to come up with some excuse to make this okay. But there was no making this okay. I sat in a chair by the window, still in my wedding dress, the lace heavy against my skin, watching them panic. My family hovered nearby, unsure what to say. Great Aunt Clara sat in another chair, calm as if watching a storm pass, her eyes never leaving me. Lily, please, Ethan kept saying, his voice desperate. Let me explain. Just happened. Sophia came to drop off something, we had a few drinks, talked about old times, and things got out of hand. It doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything? I repeated, my voice flat. You slept with my best friend on our wedding day, and it doesn't mean anything? It was a mistake, Sophia added, her voice small and shaky. A terrible mistake. We both regret it so much, Lily. You have to believe me. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, I said simply. And now everyone's going to know. The first knock came at 2:45. Ethan's parents, his sister Zoe, and his best man Jake crowded into the doorway, their faces shifting from confusion to shock to horror as they saw the scene. What is this? Mrs. Carter whispered, her hand flying to her throat, her eyes filling with tears. More people arrived in waves, the wedding coordinator looking frazzled, my aunts and uncles, their faces tight with worry, Ethan's groomsmen stunned, even the photographer summoned by someone standing in the hallway with his camera dangling uselessly. The room filled with gasps, angry murmurs, and the sound of Mrs. Carter sobbing quietly. Ethan's dad looked like he'd aged a decade in moments, his shoulders slumping. Zoe stared at her brother like he was a stranger. How could you do this? She whispered, her voice breaking. How could you do this to Lily on your wedding day? It was an accident, Ethan said, his voice cracking. A stupid, drunken mistake. Lily, please. He turned to me, pleading. We can work through this. We can postpone the wedding, go to counseling, fix this. The words burst out of me louder than I meant, silencing the room. Everyone turned to look at me, their eyes wide. I stood slowly, smoothing my dress, the lace soft under my fingers. In that moment, surrounded by people, wearing the dress I dreamed of for months, I felt something shift inside me. The pain was still there, sharp and deep like a knife in my heart. But beneath it was something stronger, clarity like a fog lifting. You want to work through this? I repeated, staring at Ethan. You want me to forgive you for sleeping with my best friend? You want me to pretend this never happened and marry you anyway? Yes, he said quickly, stepping closer. Yes, exactly. Lily, I love you. This doesn't change that. Sophia means nothing to me. Stop, I said, holding up my hand. He froze. Just stop talking. I turned to the room, looking at each face, Ethan's family who treated me like their own. My family watching with pride and heartbreak. Friends and wedding party members who'd given up their day to celebrate what was supposed to be my happiest moment. I want everyone to understand something, I said, my voice clear and strong. This isn't just about what happened today. This is about who these people really are. I walked to the dresser where Sophia's purse sat open. Inside I saw her phone and something else that made my blood run cold. A hotel keycard, not for this room. I held it up. Sophia, what's this? Her face went white as a sheet. I don't know what you mean, she stammered. This is for the Riverside Hotel, room 412, I said, reading the card. I turned to Ethan. Isn't that where you stayed last month when you said you were visiting your college friend? The silence was deafening, heavy as a storm cloud. I dug deeper in her purse, finding another key card. And this one. I held it up. The Grand Hotel downtown, room 203. From 3 weeks ago when you said you had a work conference. Sophia was crying now, tears streaming down her face, but I wasn't done. How long? I asked, my voice low and deadly calm. How long have you two been sneaking around behind my back? They didn't answer, but they didn't need to. The truth was written all over their guilty faces. Months, I said, answering my own question. Maybe longer. While I was planning our wedding, picking out flowers, tasting cakes, writing invitations, dreaming of our future, they were betraying me. I faced the room again, seeing my own pain mirrored in their eyes. Family, friends, people who loved me, who came to celebrate and now stood witness to my heartbreak. But I wasn't broken anymore. I was angry, a fire burning inside me. You want to know the real tragedy? I said, my voice growing stronger, echoing in the crowded room. It's not that my fiancé cheated on me. It's not even that my best friend betrayed me. It's that they're both such cowards they couldn't even be honest about it. I turned to Ethan, looking into his green eyes that used to make me feel safe. If you loved her, if you wanted to be with her, you should have told me. You should have called off the wedding. You should have let me walk away with my dignity. Instead, you let me plan a wedding to a man who was already choosing someone else. You let me stand in front of a mirror this morning, thinking I was the luckiest woman alive. You let 100 people gather to watch a lie. I turned to Sophia, my voice steady but sharp. And you helped me write the invitations. You held my hand when I was nervous about the wedding. You told me I deserved this happiness while you were tearing it apart. I'm sorry, Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said coldly. Sorry doesn't give me back the last year of my life. Sorry doesn't erase the humiliation of my wedding day turning into a circus. I looked around the room at the shocked and angry faces, the pity in some eyes, the support in others. And suddenly I knew exactly what I needed to do. I want everyone to go back to the venue, I said calmly, my voice steady as a rock. I want you to tell the guests exactly what happened here. Tell them there's no wedding because the groom was too busy with the maid of honor to show up. Lily, please, Mrs. Carter said, her voice breaking. Think about this. Your reputation, your future. My reputation? I laughed, and this time it wasn't bitter. It felt almost free. Mrs. Carter, with all due respect, I'm not the one who needs to worry about my reputation right now. I looked out the window at the beautiful June day, picturing the guests waiting, the flowers wilting, the cake untouched. But I was still here, still standing. I wasn't a victim. Actually, I said, turning back to the room, I have a better idea. We're all going back to the venue. Right now. Lily, Mom said carefully, her eyes worried. Maybe take some time to think. No, I said firmly, shaking my head. I've thought enough. Those people came to see a wedding. They deserve to know why there isn't one. Ethan stepped forward, panic in his eyes. You can't be serious, Lily. This will ruin everything. Everything's already ruined, I said simply. The question is whether I let you control the story or tell the truth myself. Great Aunt Clara stood, moving gracefully despite her age. The girl's right, she said, her voice strong with 82 years of wisdom. Better to face the music than let it play without you. I looked at her, grateful for her strength. Everyone out, I said. We're going to the venue. Ethan, Sophia, you're coming too. I can't face those people, Sophia said, wrapping the hotel bathrobe tighter around herself, her voice shaking. You should have thought of that before you slept with my fiancé, I replied, my voice ice cold. Get dressed. Both of you. You made this mess, and you're helping me clean it up. The drive back to Riverbend Hall was surreal, like moving through a dream. I sat in the back of Dad's car, my dress filling the seat, watching Willow Creek's familiar streets blur by. Behind us, a line of cars followed, Ethan's family, the wedding party, even some guests who'd been called from the venue. My phone buzzed with texts and calls, but I ignored them, focusing on what I was about to do. Are you sure, sweetheart? Dad asked, catching my eye in the rearview mirror. Once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure, I said, and I was. For the first time in hours, maybe months, I felt completely certain. The venue looked just as beautiful as when we'd left, the flowers bright, the chairs waiting for a celebration that would never happen. Guests milled around the gardens, checking phones, whispering in groups, their faces showing confusion and worry. Sarah rushed over as we pulled up. Lily, thank goodness. What's happening? Where were you? Gather everyone, I told her. Guests, vendors, staff. Everyone in the ceremony space in 5 minutes. But the wedding? There's no wedding, I said simply. But there's going to be an announcement. Word spread fast. Within minutes, nearly 200 people filled the chairs, their faces a mix of curiosity, concern, and annoyance at the delay. I stood at the back of the aisle, my dress rustling as I looked at the crowd, friends, family, co-workers, neighbors, all here for me. Ethan and Sophia stood off to the side, pale and nervous, like they wanted to vanish. Ethan's parents were nearby, Mrs. Carter still crying softly. Great Aunt Clara appeared at my elbow. Ready, child? I nodded. I think so. Good. The truth has its own power. Don't let anyone take that from you. I walked down the aisle slowly, the same path I was supposed to take as a bride. Now I was walking toward a microphone, toward truth, toward whatever came next. When I reached the front, I faced the crowd. The murmurs quieted, leaving only birds chirping and distant traffic. Thank you all for being here. I began, my voice clear and steady. I know you're confused, and you deserve to know what's going on. I paused, looking at Ethan and Sophia, their faces tight with fear. There isn't going to be a wedding today. Not because of cold feet or an emergency, but because this morning I found my fiancé and my maid of honor together in a hotel room. They've been having an affair for months. The crowd erupted, gasps, shocked exclamations, someone in the back saying, "Oh my God," loud enough for all to hear. I waited for the noise to settle. I found them an hour ago. Based on what I saw, this wasn't a one-time thing. It's been happening while I planned what I thought was the happiest day of my life. More gasps, more whispers. People turned to stare at Ethan and Sophia, who looked like they wanted to sink into the ground. I'm not telling you this for pity or to embarrass anyone, I said, though part of me wasn't sure about that last bit. I'm telling you because you took time to be here, and you deserve the truth. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my next words. But I also want you to know this isn't the end of my story. It's the end of one chapter. A chapter I'm glad to close. I looked at Ethan and Sophia. I've realized something today. I don't want to marry someone who could lie to me for months. I don't want to build a life with someone who'd betray me with my best friend, and then act like nothing happened. I don't want to be tied to someone with so little respect for me that he'd humiliate me in front of everyone I love. My voice grew stronger, ringing out. And Sophia, I don't want someone in my life who could smile at me while betraying me, who could help plan my wedding while destroying it, who could lie so easily. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. So here's what's happening, I said, my voice bold. You're all invited to stay for the reception. The food's paid for, the band's here, and honestly, I could use a party right now. Let's celebrate that I dodged a huge mistake. A few people laughed, a sound that lifted my heart. But Ethan and Sophia, you're not invited. I never want to see either of you again. You've shown me who you are, and I believe you. I turned to the crowd. Thank you for being here, not for a wedding, but for seeing me choose myself over people who didn't deserve me. And to anyone else in a situation like mine, remember, you deserve better than lies, better than someone who'd hurt you instead of being honest. I stepped back, then forward again. One more thing, I said, looking at Ethan. I slipped off the engagement ring, the one he'd saved for, the one I'd loved for a year. I held it up. This is yours. But I'm not giving it back. I turned and threw it as hard as I could toward the pond at the edge of the property. It arced through the air, glinting in the sun, then splashed into the water. The crowd exploded, cheers, gasps, applause. Someone yelled, "You go, girl!" I smiled, feeling lighter. Ethan stepped forward, his face red with anger and shame. "Lily, you can't just—" "I can," I said simply. And I did. He looked at the faces staring at him, full of disgust and disappointment, even his own family looking at him like a stranger. "This is insane," he said desperately. "You're being irrational. We can work this out." "No," I said firmly. "We can't. And I don't want to." I turned to Sophia, who was sobbing. "I hope it was worth it," I said quietly. "I hope whatever you got was worth losing the person who loved you most." Her face crumpled. "Lily, please. You don't understand. I never meant this. Sisters don't do this." I cut her off. "Sisters don't destroy your life while smiling at you. You made your choice. Live with it." I faced the crowd, feeling free. Now who wants to party? What happened next was beyond anything I could have imagined. The crowd didn't scatter or slink away awkwardly. They rallied around me, their support like a warm blanket. Mia grabbed the microphone. "You heard her. This is the best dodged a bullet party in Willow Creek history." The band, which had been standing awkwardly, launched into "I Will Survive," and laughter rippled through the crowd. Ethan and Sophia tried to slip away, but they had to walk through the silent crowd, every face judging them. Mrs. Carter stopped in front of me, her eyes red. "Lily, I'm so sorry. I raised him better than this." "It's not your fault," I said gently. "You're wonderful and Zoe's amazing. Sometimes people choose to be less than they could be." She hugged me tightly. "You'll be more than fine, sweetheart." Zoe lingered, tears streaming down her face. "I had no idea, Lily. I swear." "I know," I said, hugging her. "I'm so ashamed of him," she whispered. "He's still your brother," I said. "But you don't have to defend him." The afternoon turned magical. What should have been my worst day became a celebration of my strength. People shared stories, my uncle's near miss with a shady fiancé, a friend's escape from a thief. Someone raised a glass to Lily for showing us what courage looks like. The toast spread and I laughed, surrounded by love. Great Aunt Clara found me as the sun set, painting the sky pink and gold. "How are you holding up?" "Better than I thought," I said. "I feel free, like I've been holding my breath and can finally breathe." "You were settling," she said wisely. "Now live for you." I thought about signs I'd missed, Ethan's distance, Sophia's overkindness. But I didn't dwell. 3 months later, in my new downtown apartment, my phone rang. It was Sophia. "I want to apologize," she said, her voice shaky. "What do you want?" I asked, neutral. "I've been in therapy trying to understand why I hurt you. I was jealous, your confidence, your happy life." Ethan had doubts, felt trapped. I encouraged it instead of telling him to talk to you. "Doubts?" I asked, shocked. "He wasn't sure about marrying," she said. "I made it worse." "Are you together?" "No. Fell apart fast. Betrayal doesn't build strong bonds." "I'm not forgiving you," I said. "I know. I heard you're doing great, promoted, happy." "I am," I said, meaning it. I hung up, closing that door. I'd become head of the kindergarten program, volunteered at a women's shelter, took up painting, traveled, read more. I learned to love being alone. Text came, family dinner, girls' night, a new one from Ryan, the kind barista I'd been chatting with. "Dinner sometime?" "I'd love to," I typed. He was honest, steady, making me feel enough as I was. In the mirror, I saw a confident Lily. "To choosing me," I whispered. At the school's year-end celebration, my students' play was a hit. Miss Lily, I got all my lines, little Emma said. Perfect, I smiled. The principal approached. The district wants you for a big early childhood program. I recommended you. My heart soared. I'd love to learn more. You've grown, Lily, she said. Ryan waited after. Play good. Perfect chaos, I laughed. I told him about the promotion. You're incredible, he said, listening fully. Great Aunt Clara texted. Proud of you, blooming right. 3 years later, I led education for the district, my programs helping thousands of kids. Ryan and I married quietly under stars, Clara walking me down the aisle. Your fairy tale, she whispered. We welcomed our daughter, Hope, and I wrote a book about my journey, inspiring others. At signings, women thanked me for courage. Alex's kids called me the cool aunt. Ryan and I built a life of love and truth. That awful day wasn't the end, it was my beginning. A life unstoppable in mine.